What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams. Happy Friday. It is time to wrap up the week here, time to close out the month of back to school movies. And we are going to do that today by discussing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starring Kristy Swanson, Luke Perry, Rutger Hauer, Donald Sutherland, Paul Reubens, Hilary Swank, David Arquette, Ben Affleck, Ricky Lake, Seth Green, and Alexis Arquette. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, it's finally Friday. Time to close out the month, close the book on back to school movies. And we're doing that today with a great transition film as we move from back to school month into our 31 days of horror, discussing Stephen King films next month. We're going to discuss Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And as our movie opens, Buffy Summers is a cheerleader at Hemery High School in Los Angeles, California. Her main concerns are shopping and spending time with her rich, snooty friends, as well as her boyfriend, Jeffrey. While at school one day, she is approached by a man who calls himself Merrick. He informs her that she is the Slayer, the chosen one, who is destined to kill vampires, and his duty is to guide her and to train her. Now, she initially rejects his claim, but changes her mind when he vividly describes a recurring dream of hers. Additionally, Buffy is exhibiting abilities that are not known to her, including heightened agility, senses, and endurance. Yet, she repeatedly tries Merrick's patience with her frivolous nature, indifference to slaying, and sharp-tongued remarks. Now conflict begins with the local vampire king Lothos and his acolyte Amelin, as two young men, Pike and Benny, are out drinking one evening when they are attacked by Amelin. Benny is turned into a vampire, but Pike is saved by Merrick. Now, as a vampire, Benny visits his friend Pike and tries to get him to join him. Amelin also abducts Cassandra, a girl from Buffy's class, and sacrifices her to Lothos. Pike decides to leave town when he realizes that he is no longer safe. However, his plan is thwarted when he encounters Amelin and his gang of vampires. Buffy and Merrick rescue him, and after this encounter, Buffy and Pike start a friendship that eventually becomes romantic, as Pike becomes Buffy's partner in fighting the undead. Buffy discovers that her friend Grueller has now been turned into a vampire, and shortly after he is dispatched, Buffy encounters Lothos and Amelin. The Vampire King puts Buffy into a hypnotic trance, but Merrick intervenes and he is killed by Lothos when he attempts to stake him. As Merrick dies, he tells Buffy to do things her own way rather than to live by the rules of others. At school, Buffy tries to attempt and explain things to her friends, but they refuse to understand her as they are more concerned with the upcoming school dance. Buffy ends up falling out with them as she realizes that she has outgrown their immature and selfish behavior. At the school dance, Buffy is dismayed to discover that Jeffrey has dumped her for one of her friends. She meets with Pike and dances with him instead. Lothos then sends his army of vampire minions to the school in order to attack the dance. During the attack, students and attendants try to fight off the vampires in the gymnasium. Pike fights and kills Benny while Buffy confronts Amelin and Lothos in the school's basement. She kills Amelin, but Lothos begins to hypnotize her once again. The trance is broken when Buffy is reminded of Merrick's final words, and she defends herself against Lothos. Buffy returns to the gymnasium, and Lothos suddenly emerges with a sword. The Slayer and the Vampire King duel, and Buffy manages to defeat him. The survivors leave the gymnasium. Buffy and Pike share another dance, and the couple ride away on a motorcycle as our movie comes to its close. I love this movie. Let me repeat that. I love this movie. I know it's cheesy. I know it's campy. I know it's not the real Buffy. The TV series is the real Buffyverse. No. This is Buffy. This is the original Buffy. I don't care if they retconned everything and redid it. This is Buffy. This movie is the reason I refuse to watch the TV show. Period. I adore this movie. I remember going to see this in theaters when it came out. I remember having the movie poster on my wall when this came out. I was a huge Luke Perry fan, primarily because of 90210. I watched Beverly Hills 90210 pretty much all the way through the beginning of their college years. And Dylan McKay was that cool James Dean kid that all the women loved and the guys wanted to be like. They wanted Dylan as their friend. They wanted to emulate Dylan. And that was me. I became a huge fan of Luke Perry because of that. I was a huge fan of Pee Wee Herman. And this movie came out just after his arrest at the adult movie theater, which we won't get into that because a grown man doing things in adult movie theater that you're supposed to do in an adult movie theater, but you're getting arrested because you're Pee Wee freaking Herman. Talk about sabotage. But again, I'm not going to go down that road, that rabbit hole. I loved Pee Wee Herman. So I saw this for him. I saw this for Luke Perry. There's a lot of people that then pop up in this movie that I became fans of afterwards. I became a fan of Donald Sutherland. I became a fan of Rutger Hauer. I became a fan of David Arquette. You then discover years on down the road that Ben Affleck is uncredited in this as one of the basketball players after Ben Affleck's career is blown up. And there's a ton of people in here that I love. Then you've got Amelin's death scene, Paul Reubens' character, which I listed as one of the top 10 death scenes of all time when Dads on Wrestling did that show. And if you missed that, I'll link it up here. But this movie is underrated. And I felt this was the perfect movie to transition into next month, which again is going to be 31 Days of Horror, all Stephen King movies. So here we've got a vampire movie that takes place in a high school. Our first movie when we move into Stephen King month is going to be Carrie, which also takes place in a high school. So it's a perfect way to kind of transition. Both are school movies. Both can be listed for Halloween. Beautiful transition, I think. Maybe it's the old school DJ in me from when I used to do that. You look for good transitions and blends. What do you guys think? Let me know. But I cannot say enough good things about this film. I'm curious to know what all my viewers think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But for me, Buffy the Vampire Slayer gets 4.5 out of 5 stars. Again, what do you guys think? Am I crazy? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. And let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys stay tuned in to the Casa D18 Studios channel just about an hour and a half from now, as it'll be a special presentation on both the Casa D18 Studios channel as well as the Simple Man's brand of the Simple Man's flagship show, Simply Predicting, as we discuss WWE NXT No Mercy, kicking off at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Simple Man Noah Foster, myself, and whoever else decides that they are going to join the panel and give their thoughts on tomorrow's No Mercy PLE. And then, of course, tomorrow, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, it'll be time once again for WWE PLE watch-along coverage as we call the action of No Mercy. Beginning at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, the Simple Man Noah Foster and myself will be on the call, as well as whoever else decides that they want to pop in and out in between matches and give their thoughts on the show. And then once the show is over, again on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media, it'll be time for the Saturday night shenanigans that are Open Mic Night. Myself, the Simple Man Noah Foster, and whoever else decides that they want to enter the studio, step up to the microphone, and engage us in the week of professional wrestling conversation is welcome for another edition of Open Mic Night. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, Simple Man's brand, and across the greater Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. Simply Predicting, No Mercy Watch Along, Open Mic Night, and so much more. You don't want to miss any of it. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out any time a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or any time we go live, as the case with Statboy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE watch-along coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of Kristy Swanson, fans of Luke Perry, fans of David Arquette, fans of Paul Reubens, fans of Donald Sutherland, fans of Rutger Hauer, fans of Ben Affleck. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them, as it's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms now that we are in fact a monetized channel right here on the platform. Thank you once again to everybody out there who joined me and tuned in today. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.